Okay, thank you, Dimitri. My name is Achillas, and I will share the floor with my colleague, Professor Christos Keramydas. We are both professors at the Department of Supply Chain Management in Katerini, which is part of the International Hellenic University. Here today we represent Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, which is the subcontractor of Greek Association of Supply Chain Management. Before I start, I would like to thank Professor Vlachos and the whole team from Greek Association of Supply Chain Management for their trust and also for their support over the past 6-7 months that we conducted this study on circular economy and environmental impact from the Greek side in northern Greece. I would like to thank the colleagues with whom we collaborated over the past months for this study, starting from the right, Maria Tournaviti, Dimitris Saidonis, Christina. Thanks a lot for their support. There are some other colleagues also, Professor Vlachos, who could not attend due to other obligations, who could not make it today to be with us here. So, yeah. I will present you the findings of our study, which is part of deliverable D32 of the agroefficiency project. The aims of the deliverable are, first of all, to capture the uses and environmental impacts of circular economy principles, to study the circular economy practices that can be applied in SMEs and industries in the cross-border region, Greece, Bulgaria, and suggest some solutions in respect to circular economy for the region. We heard some interesting things from Professor Vlachokostas, so I will not spare more time to discuss on circular economy. It is rather critical to move on from a linear economy in agri-food sector to a more circular model. The thing is that it is really critical to move from this linear economy to circular economy. At the moment, I feel that we are more close to the recycling economy model, which is something different compared to circular economy. It's something shorter, something smaller. It's only an operational need, so we need new business models. We don't need to start thinking of waste at the end of the life cycle, but more to start thinking it from the initial phase, from the design phase, as Christos said, and to turn waste reducing strategies into business economy models. Recycling is okay, is a good thing if we compare it with a strictly linear economy model, but still it is still linear. It only slows down the loss of material. In every cycle, in every circle, in recycling, we lose part of the material. We cannot afford to lose this part, so we need to see waste as a resource rather than waste itself. And based on what Professor Vlachokostas said, we need synergies between all different actors that are involved in the economy, from the consumers and change in consumer behavioral patterns, change in the philosophy of SMEs who need to see sustainability as a profit center rather than an obligation. In the morning, we had some more interesting presentations in the framework of the Bioregio project. So we understand that companies would move forward to circular economy models only if there is profit in them. So yeah, and there is profit if we can exploit waste as a resource. It is always an opportunity. Collaboration of local ecosystems for co-exploitation of resources at the meso level, and also at the macro level, we need financial support and a stable environment. All of those issues are critical for the promotion of circular economy. So moving on to the survey itself that we conducted over the past years, the aims are to capture the status quo of circular economy practices in Greece. Okay, we will later here what is happening on in the Bulgarian side. Analyze how different types of companies understand and adopt circular practices, and also increase SMEs' capacity on circular economy. We worked over the past months. We started in October with literature review, literature background to understand the principles of circular economy, and also to map what is happening in the Greek side of the cross-border area. Then we spend a lot of time in order to design the questionnaire, a questionnaire that will give us concrete results. We reviewed these results, then we moved on to sending out the questionnaire to companies, to SMEs, collecting data, analyze data, and prepare the preparation of the final deliverable. So I will not spend more time. There is, I suppose you will have access to the final report that we delivered to the Greek Association of Supply Chain Management. There is a section there. Christina and Maria did an excellent work in mapping the situation in the Greek side. There are some initiatives, there are some companies that are working in this field. This is the background information before we moved on to the study itself, to identify, to ask SMEs and understand what is going on, what is their feeling, and so on. So this study, our part of the study, targeted the agri-food-related companies in the cross-border region from the Greek side. We sent with the support, with the help of all project partners, questionnaires to more than 2,000 companies, and we received something like a 10% response rate. We had a 10% response rate, receiving something a little bit higher than 200 responses. If I'm not wrong, it's 205. So now the next slides refer to the findings of the study. I will give the floor to Professor Christos Keramydas to show you the results. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon from my side. I'm Christos Keramydas, and I represent the Greek Association of Supply Chain Management. In the next 15 minutes, I'll give you a brief presentation of the main findings of the study conducted within the context of the project. So we will start with information about the companies, the participants, or if you prefer, the respondents in this survey. A few information about the location and the types of the companies. As you can see in the map on the left side of the slide, approximately 2/3 of the companies were located in the broader area of the municipality of Thessaloniki, which is the second bigger municipality in Greece with approximately 1.5 million people. And also there were companies located in other municipalities across the borderline between Greece and Bulgaria, the Ceres municipality, Drama, Kavala, Xanthi, Rhodope, and Evros. As regards the business field that the companies that participated in the study operated in, we can see on the right side of the slide in this pie chart that approximately 3/4 of the companies are producers, service providers, or companies that are involved in the processing industry. And the other 1/4, the last quarter, includes companies in the area of logistics, packing companies, and traders. And some other information about the size and the history of the companies. As you can see, approximately half of the companies were rather new companies with limited experience in the agri-food sector, with a history of less than 10 years in the sector. And of course, the other half of the companies were relatively more experienced in the agri-food sector with a history of 10 or more years. About 2/3 of the companies were, let's say, small-sized companies with 10 or less employees, while also something more than half of the companies were companies with relatively low annual revenue, a revenue that is about 500,000 euros per year or less. We will move on to the main body of this survey, the one that concerns the circular economy concepts and the related issues. The first question was dedicated to the types of waste that companies have. As you can see, this spider diagram on the left side of the slide, the most common, the most popular waste is the recyclable waste. 70% of the companies reported that they have recyclable waste. Organic, solid, and liquid waste follow, and hazardous waste, just a minority, 11 companies reported that they do have hazardous waste. Perhaps this is due to the nature of the agribusiness. This is a sector that is not highly involved with hazardous materials and waste. On the right, in the table on the right side of the slide, you can see perhaps something that someone might expect it, the association between the type of waste and the field of operation of a company. For example, here we can see that the producers are mainly associated to organic waste, while recyclable waste are mostly was mostly met in packing, logistics, and service providers. For example, a third example is that the logistics sector has the lowest association with organic waste, and so on. The second question was one of the most important questions of the questionnaire of this survey. It was dedicated to the strategy of the company and the alignment of the strategy of a company to the main circular economy purposes or circular economy issues. We can see here that half of the companies reported that they have no relevant actions, no actions related to circular economy, not at all. There is 1/3 of the companies that mentioned that they have some kind of actions related to circular economy and consider these actions as part of their strategic planning. While perhaps the most interesting point here is that just 13% of the companies do explicitly mention that they incorporate circular economy as part of their strategic priorities. The third question was concerned the adoption and implementation of circular economy-related measures by companies. The measures were divided into three main categories. The first one included generic circular economy measures. The second class included energy-related measures, and the third group of measures included water-related circular economy measures. This first slide is about the generic circular economy measures. The average adoption rate per measure of a generic measure is approximately 20%. This means that 1 out of 5 companies adopts and implements each of these measures, on average, of course, in its daily operations. We can see here that among these measures, the recycle of waste is the most popular one. 60% of the companies reported that they they implemented the recycle of waste. And also an interesting point here is that there is also, if we see the yellow bars in all these 8 measures, we can see that there is also a significant percentage of companies that, on the one hand, they do not currently implement any kind of these measures, but they are willing to implement such measures in the near future. The adoption and implementation rate, average adoption and implementation rate for the energy-related measures were lower, was approximately 12% per measure. The most popular action, energy-related action that is undertaken by companies is the energy consumption monitoring. And finally, as regards the water-related measures, just 6% of the companies, an average adoption and implementation rate is 6%. The next question, the fourth one, was dedicated to the assessment of the environmental impact of the operations of a company. As we can see in this pie chart, approximately 70% of the companies do not apply any kind of assessment of their environmental impact, for example, life cycle analysis, or the calculation of their environmental footprint, etc. There is 30% of the companies that reported that they do assess their environmental impact. The next question concerned the training programs offered by companies to their employees on the training on circular economy-related issues. As we can see here, just 1/4 of the companies, 52 companies, reported that they do offer to their employees training programs. Out of these companies, half of them employs an external trainer for the training. For half of these companies, the training is not mandatory, while approximately in 2/3 of the companies, all levels of employees are involved. And finally, the 2 last questions, but these questions are very important, address the issues of the relationship between a company and its suppliers, and the company and its customers, respectively. So in the bar plot on the left side of the slide, we can see here that approximately half of the companies are not at all engaged with their suppliers towards increasing sourcing based on circular economy principles, or they are engaged with the engagement with their suppliers are very, very low. The picture is similar for the relationship between customers and companies. Here, the companies stated that they feel no pressure from their customers on circular economy issues, or the pressure they feel, approximately half of the companies, or the pressure that they feel is very low. They don't, in other words, the customers, the companies reported that the customers, the pressure put by customers on the companies is really low. So given all these outcomes, we moved on and we made an effort to investigate any potential correlation and dependencies between the respective variables and the outcomes in general. Here are just a few indicative findings. In general, the companies with comparatively bigger companies that are companies with more employees and companies with higher annual revenues found to be higher associated with the prioritization of circular economy concepts and practices as part of their strategic planning. Also, bigger companies found to exhibit some higher frequencies found to offer more frequently circular economy-related training programs to their employees. A second observation, second dependency correlation that was found, it was indicative correlation, was the association between the environmental impact assessment initiatives of a company with the positive association of these environmental impact assessment initiatives with the level of engagement of the companies with their suppliers. And the third finding was that the companies that felt higher pressure by their customers to be more circular were found to be the ones that were more frequently associated to involvement of circular economy priorities in their strategic plans. This was another effort on, let's say, grouping companies under alternative circular economy profiles. We made an effort to draw some basic circular economy profiles. In the deliverable, there are, of course, a more detailed analysis, a cluster analysis with 6 different profiles and details about the association, the size of the companies, the number of employees, the annual revenues, the level of the implementation of the different energy-related or water-related measures. Here we present just 3 main axes, 3 main, let's say, clusters of companies. The first one includes companies that are not aware of the circular economy concept, not aware at all, and they do not implement any kind of actions related to circular economy as part of their strategy and, of course, during their daily operations. The second category has some similar characteristics with the first one, but here the main point of differentiation is that the companies here, although they do not include circular economy priorities in their strategic planning, they do implement several circular economy-related measures as part of their daily operations. And of course, there is a third class, a third group of companies that are aware of the circular economy concepts and practices, and they do consciously implement circular economy-related measures in a way towards the circular economy transformation. I'll close with a few, let's say, conclusions or remarks or observations. As we have already seen, the recyclable waste was the main type of waste produced by companies. But I think that the first point, the conclusion of interest here is that it seems that the strategic profile in terms of circular economy of the companies is a rather weak one. Also, there is a limited implementation of circular economy-related measures. Companies mostly adopt and implement generic measures. The recycle of waste and the energy consumption monitoring were the two most popular measures adopted and implemented by companies. Most of the companies do not assess their environmental impact. There is some limited training opportunities for employees offered by their companies on issues related to circular economy. It seems that there is a low engagement of the companies with their suppliers as regards increasing or, in other words, moving towards a circular economy-based way of sourcing. And finally, according to the reports of the companies, the pressure they feel from their customers in order to be more circular is rather low, or there is not pressure at all. The companies do not feel any significant pressure from their customers. I think that's for now. We have, I think that there is a session for discussion and questions later on, so we can come back in